Thank you so much for making time for this interview.
That's all right.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Laura. I live in London and I'm a big fan of Come From Away the musical.
When did you first hear about Come From Away, Laura?
I heard about it when it was on Broadway, and I saw this show, but I didn't really know much about what it was about. I kind of saw the theatre, and I wasn't sure how this musical about September 11th was going to be, because it's such a big emotional subject, and I just didn't know what it was going to be like. So I didn't see it that early on. And then I was on Broadway one time and I was seeing a load of different shows, and I was queuing up to get tickets for various different shows, and everyone in line getting tickets was like, you need to go and see this Come From Away musical, it's really good. So I got tickets to see it on Broadway, and I got standing tickets because I queued up in the morning. And I was actually really nervous because I don't know what this musical is going to be like, and I'm standing up for 100 minutes and there's no interval, and I didn't even realise by the end, because it was just so good. I was just invested in it from start to finish. It just made me really happy. The emotions in the show are just incredible. True, absolutely loved it.
Did you see it all by yourself the first time?
Yes, so the first time I saw it by myself, and I came out of the theatre and I rang my mum and I said, there's this musical I've just seen, it's absolutely amazing. If it transfers to London, we have to go and see it together, and I want to take my granddad as well, because my granddad actually got me into theatre. So, and I knew it's something that he'd appreciate as well. And then literally when I was still in New York, so that's about 3 days later, they actually announced it was going to London. So the timing of that couldn't have been any better.
What was it like to see it in London? When did you go to see it?
So I was looking into going to Dublin, but I couldn't kind of make it work. So I went about 3 weeks into the London run, and yeah, the show was just as good as I remembered it. I went with a friend of mine the first time, and she loved it just as much as I did. She said she wasn't sure how it was going to work in London because it sounded very American. No, it's Canadian, but yeah, she didn't know that it would work in London before she saw it, and we both came out and we both absolutely loved it. So,
what was it like in comparison to the Broadway cast?
I mean, the first time I saw it, I couldn't really compare them, because I'd seen the Broadway one about 6 months before I saw London. But now, yeah, definitely there's little things that you notice, but it's the same show, and the lines are pretty much exactly the same. It's more facial expressions or the way people say lines that's different. And I love seeing everyone's different take on all the characters.
And how the audience react? I think in London they react a bit differently. For example, they laugh a lot when Nick talks. For example, he says that he just wanted to call his company to let someone know that he's still alive. I think in New York no one laughed, but in London many do.
Yeah, there's certain bits like that. I mean, every country I've seen it in, there's a standing ovation at the end. I think that's just but yeah, there's definitely. I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head of lines, but yeah, definitely when Nick says, and most of the time the Oprah Winfrey line gets quite a lot of laughs as well, which is something they changed, isn't it?
So how many times have you seen it so far?
54 as of
54.
Wait, when did I see it? Thursday, I think Wednesday I saw it last. So, but in that 54 times, I think I've only seen the same cast 5 times out of the whole time, because every time I see it, there's a standby on, or I mean, I've seen full cast in London about 3 times with the old cast, and I don't think I've seen full new cast yet, because there's always, like I said, at least one person standbys on. I mean, we had 6 one time last summer in London, which was absolutely amazing. All 4 females were on. So yeah.
Bet lots of other Come From Away fans in London, right?
Yes, yeah.
And you also stage doored in Toronto and Broadway. I was wondering what's the difference between the fan culture in these 3 countries? Like only Come From Away.
Yeah. So Broadway and London are very similar. There's quite a big fan culture. You'll go to stage door and there's a lot of people around wanting like autographs and pictures with everyone, and they want to talk to people. And so it is like meeting famous people. Like it's the same sort of thing. I like. So you're lining up. I mean, it's a little bit on Broadway. They have barriers, and you're behind a barrier, and they kind of line up. Whereas in London, you're just standing at stage door, and they'll like come up to you and speak to you. Toronto is very much more relaxed. Apparently, people don't really stage door for the show there. I don't know if it's just not a thing or like. But yeah, definitely when I went round to stage door, there was like, I was the only person there. And like from speaking to a few friends, they've said like similar things, like people appreciate the show in other ways rather than go round to stage door afterwards and try and get their autographs. And so, yeah, it's definitely a lot quieter. I mean, there are fans out there, whether they just don't have so much of a big communities like the Broadway and the West End ones don't have because of like, there's not as many shows out there. I'm not really sure, but yeah, it definitely felt like the Toronto cast just, I don't know how to put it.
I also noticed it that no one really comes to stage door in Toronto. I was a bit surprised by it.
Yeah, like, I mean, I was really lucky, like, without going, my friend of a friend knows one of the cast. So they actually took me backstage rather than me having to stage door the first night. So I can't really say a lot about stage door because I didn't.
What, in your opinion, makes this show so special? Like, why people come back to see it again and again?
There's a few things. I think the first thing is just the story. It's based on a true story. And I find it amazing that, like, when you get into the show and you watch the interviews that Irene and David did, like, it's word for word the script. I think that's, like, when you watch the interviews with, like, Beverly and Nick and Diane, and every single thing that's in the show, like, actually happened. It's the story is just amazing. It just makes you realise that, like, no matter how bad the world is, like, there's always good people and people that are willing to help. I've always loved like human connection. I'm a chat meeting people like around the world, and this show kind of showcases that, like, yeah, everyone around the world is welcome. And so yeah, I think that's amazing. The emotions of the show, I think that's the thing that like blew me away first, was like the fact you can go from they're crying, they're really upset, so you've got like the search scene with Ali, and then the next minute like they're dancing around and drinking their alcohol and having the best time, and the way they seamlessly go through those emotions is just absolutely amazing. The music's like really catchy. I love all the songs. Screeching just gives me the biggest smile on my face every time I watch it. And also the little bit where Joey's on the plane, he's singing about Meanwhile on the Plane every single time. So it's just like little bits of the show that like make me really happy. I think the standbys are amazing. I think it's absolutely incredible that like these actors that could be, I mean, one of our standbys from last year has just gone into another Broadway, another West End show, and he's a lead now, and he's absolutely incredible. And so you've got these people sitting in a dressing room that are that talented, and just can go on like at the drop of a hat, and just it's absolutely seamless. They just fit into the show. I mean, one time Kirsty Amalpas went on in the middle of the show when I was there, and even I'd already seen it. Well, we know how many times I've seen it, and even I was like, I had to double take and think, oh, was she on the whole time, or was like, did I dream that Emma started this show? So yeah, so the standbys and the simplicity of it. Well, it's very technical, but it looks simple. The way that they do everything with just chairs and tables is amazing. Like most big shows rely on like the big production numbers. So you've got like a big dance scene or a song everyone knows, or some huge set pieces. But this it's just a story, and it's just amazing how they manage to do it, and it just keeps your attention because the story itself is like worth your attention, so they don't need to have any other anything else because it's just there. Yeah.
I was wondering, what is it like to see the show from different places? In London, you have day seats, which is the front row, right? What is it like to see it from the very first row in comparison to like standing room on Broadway? It's a bit like farther away.
Yeah, I mean, I love watching it. I think my favourite place to watch it from is Dress Circle, because the choreography and the shapes they make, like when they're on the plane and different things, just look absolutely incredible. The lines are just amazing. Shout out to all the dance captains because they just do an amazing job, because it does look so slick, like every time you watch it. Front row, I really like front row, but it's not as restricted on Broadway or Toronto, but on the West End it is very restricted. But it's amazing because you can really hear all their harmonies, and also you can hear, you can see all the emotion on their faces, and especially someone like Jonathan, who's just incredible.
Oh, he just like, it was like heartbreaking.
Yeah, but like every single show, he's amazing. Like honestly, every time I watch him, I mean, I can't look at him in the search scene now because I know he's just going to make me cry.
You know, the first time I saw it in London, I think I sat in, I think it was AA7, possibly AA8, and the very first song, like Jonathan stood right in front of me, and then he looks down, and like our eyes meet, and I was like blown away, like, you know, like he actually looks at you.
Yeah,
and it's so powerful because you can feel the intensity of all these emotions, and it was like such a unique experience for me.
He always does in Welcome to the Rock. He'll always like eyeball people, and it's so funny. And I really, Enrico is absolutely amazing. He's one of our standbys, and actually he went on his first ever night, his first show, because Jonathan just had a baby. But I did miss Jonathan.
Yeah, that's the problem with the front row. You have to choose who to look at. You can't really look at all the cast at once. So I was looking like at Mark, and then like Jonathan, and then like, okay, Mark again. Like, who should I focus on? It was a bit overwhelming.
I mean, I like literally queue up, and then I'm like, I used to be like, which one's Mark on for today, to kind of work out where to sit. So middle of front row is very good. I mean, if people are watching and they haven't seen the show before, I wouldn't recommend the front row. It is amazing, but it is very restricted. Definitely, if you're seeing it for the first time, maybe like 4 or 5 rows back, or like Dress Circle was probably like what I'd recommend for the first time you see it for sure. But yeah, for the price that they are, front row is amazing.
Do you notice some new things after seeing the show like for 10 times, 20 times?
Yes. There's things that I noticed. It took me ages to work out who passed the plunger in the cardiology scene that comes from the back. And I think Rob passes it, I'm trying to think now, but there's like a couple of them that all pass it to each other. It took me 15 or 20 shows to realise that Claude has a Gander Academy hoodie in costume. So yeah, there's always little things that you notice, which is always really good fun to see.
I think you mentioned that you had a kind of backstage tour on Broadway as well. You mentioned Happy McPartlin, right?
Yes, yeah. I did that. I actually did that through the company. At the time, I didn't realise I was going to go backstage in Toronto as well. So I did it through a company. I'm trying to think what they're called now. Broadway Plus. So that one I did actually have to pay for, but it was amazing. So Broadway Plus are a company, and they do various different Broadway packages to go backstage or meet cast members of different shows. And Come From Away is not on their website, but they said you could request different shows. So I just requested Come From Away. And yeah, it was really nice when I got the email that Happy was going to be my guide as well, because I think I've mentioned this already, but I'm quite a big fan of the sound voice. So it's really, really nice to have her point of view, and she was so lovely. So she showed me all the different parts of the stage. And actually I did the Toronto tour like 3 or 4 days before that. So it was quite cool to be able to do that comparison, like almost straight away, of like the two different stages. Broadway is, I think, the biggest stage. Well, I think Tour have some huge stages, but Broadway's like the biggest out of the London, Toronto and Broadway.
And
so,
the one is Real Trees.
Yes, yeah, they've got real trees. They ship them in, I think they drove them by truck from somewhere. So yeah.
Do you notice any differences between the Toronto and the New York backstage?
Only little things, like the Toronto cast, they hide like lots of little mini animals on their stage. So they had like their little things backstage. But yeah, only little things like that, nothing that I can really remember. Like it was completely different, apart from, like you said, the New York has like the real trees, which
I think in Toronto they have crossover behind the stage, and in New York they have to run like under the stage, like if they have to switch from stage right to left. I think Astrid is one of the people who actually has to run during the show.
We didn't go underneath the stage.
It's where all the dressers are, like in a wardrobe and musicians corner, like when, you know, where they hang out before the show.
Okay, yeah, that makes, because I did my tour, because usually with Broadway Plus the tours are after the show, but I actually did mine before the show because it was like a scheduling thing. So maybe there was people underneath the stage when we were there. But it's really cool because when I saw it on Broadway the second time, I got to see the third cover Kev J. Third cover Kev T, which was Josh, which was amazing. So when we were on stage, we actually saw him rehearsing in the little sound booth, which was really cool.
And did you see all the flags? Like Gandler flag and Appleton?
Yeah, that was really cool. Last time I went, actually, James from the Toronto, who plays Nick in the Toronto cast, he gave me pins from all the different towns, which was really, really cool. So yeah, and they were all like represented, so that was really, really nice.
Oh. James is one of the kindest people I have ever met. He is a remarkable gentleman.
I don't know how many like fans of the show are going to be watching this, but this book is amazing. And actually, there's a story about this book. I don't know if I've told you yet, but I got it signed by the Toronto cast, the tour cast, and a couple of the Broadway cast. Got back to London and it got stolen. It was in my bag. I was in a coffee shop and my bag got stolen from under the table. So I was like really upset. So I tweeted about it, not thinking anything, just thinking like, be careful of your stuff. Like, and my friend who I've made, I mean, this is how this show is so incredible, because my friend from Australia, who I've met through the show, who's seen the show more times than me, in Melbourne, he actually replaced it for me, and he got it signed by all the Australian cast, which was absolutely amazing. It's like such a credit, you know. That's kind of what the show's about, isn't it? Like a little random act of kindness, and it was just so nice of him. But this I would definitely recommend to everyone. You have a copy, right?
No, I don't. I'm embarrassed to admit that I don't. I didn't get it yet. I should.
Okay. So this has got everything in it. It's like the whole script. It's got like pictures from like when they were in Sheridan College. I don't know if you can even see that.
Yeah, now I can see it, yeah.
But yeah, all the little bits that got cut. I mean, most of the pictures are of the Broadway cast, but yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So it's like the fans' guide to Come From Away. So yeah, everyone should go and get this because it's amazing.
In the store or like Amazon?
Yeah, I think they sell it at the theatres now as well. So definitely, but yeah, I'm sure you can get it online. I'm sure you can get it on like Amazon or eBay or somewhere like that as well. But yeah, definitely worth it. Oh, and do you know about the Argentinian?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm again, like how this show connects people just amazes me because I followed a couple of the cast on Instagram the other day, and one of the Argentinian cast who plays Claude like sent me a voice message in Spanish, and it said like this show is amazing because it connects people from all over the world, and I think that's like one of the things I love about it. Like, I mean, me and you are talking like from how far, like from Newfoundland, that's so far away, and yet we can just all connect and come together over this like one thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, you know, to be honest, I'm an introvert, so usually I don't really talk to strangers. But ever since I saw Come From Away, I interviewed all these people, like cast, crew, the real people, and it was such an incredible experience for me because I never talk to strangers at all. Like, I'm always worried about my accent, and like I'm not good at small talk, so I'm like kind of too shy to talk to strangers. And this experience like totally changed my life. So many new friends, like all over the place, people I would have never even met otherwise, you know. Especially people in Gander. They were like so exceedingly kind, you know, every single one of them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, amazing. One of the stories I love about the Toronto cast, a couple of Kristen and Steffi, last trip, they were worried that I was going to be cold, and they literally offered me clothes.
Aww.
They said, if I'm cold, like, just let them know, and they'll like bring me jackets and stuff to warm up. I mean, I was fine, but like the offer of that was just so nice. They're all like, yeah. And everyone involved in shows like that, like you said, and it's amazing that it's like helped you as well. And yeah, like I said, your interviews are great. So like, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
I was wondering, is there like fans in London? Is it like small groups that you recognize each other? Like, do you know the other fans after watching the show so many times? Like when you, like, you know, come to Stage Door, I guess.
Yes. So my friend, I've met a couple of fans at Stage Door. You notice the same faces. I mean, I was a theatre fan back in the day. I mean, I've always been a theatre fan. I used to go to the theatre. I used to kind of Stage Door every single show just to go to Stage Door. But more recently, I suffer a bit from anxiety as well sometimes, much as I'm a chatterbox. So with this show, I was actually quite nervous to Stage Door. So I didn't actually Stage Door for the first few times. And then I started speaking to Jonathan, who plays Ali, over social media a couple of times. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll go like say hi. And yeah, through Stage Door, I've met a couple of people. And then my friend Charlotte and I are very active on Twitter. So my friend Charlotte kind of sent a tweet and said, oh, if you're a Come From Away fan, join our group chat. So we have a little Twitter chat over social media, and I've connected with fans from pretty much all the countries now.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, there's a couple of us, and we all connect, which is really nice, all over the world. Okay. I'd love to do a convention at one point, like whether it be in London or New York, and get like maybe a couple of the cast or some of the crew, and just like all get together and like talk about the show. I think that'd be amazing. Maybe get Nick, maybe get Kevin T to do a speech, because I know he does public speaking. So yeah, I think that would be really cool. It's like everyone just gets on, and like we could talk about the show for hours. So I think that would be something really, really cool.
Yeah, like they do Broadway Con in New York, something similar.
Yeah, that's what.
I think this time Michael Rubin of Anne, Noreen, and David were there. So I guess it's possible to arrange something like that, like, you know, with Come From Away panel. That would be amazing.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Used to have them next year.
Anyways, thank you so much for making time for me, Laura. It really means a lot.